Story 1. Kuchisake-onna. In the quiet countryside of Japan, an ancient legend has been passed down through the generations. Every time the autumn wind begins to chill and the night settles in, people whisper the name of the Kuchisake-onna, or the Slit-Mouthed Woman. This terrifying story has survived through the ages, and with each retelling, it has spread from rural villages to bustling cities. Every year, someone claims to have seen her in a dark alley or along a deserted road, a woman wearing a surgical mask, hiding the horrifying disfigurement underneath. The legend of Kuchisake-onna dates back to the Edo period. She was once a beautiful woman, married to a powerful samurai. Her beauty attracted attention wherever she went, and her husband was deeply in love with her. However, as time passed, the samurai grew increasingly jealous. Rumors spread that she was unfaithful, that she was having an affair with another man. Though he loved her deeply, his jealousy consumed him, and one fateful day, he lost control. One afternoon, the samurai returned home to find his wife laughing with a stranger. In a fit of blind rage, he grabbed her by the face and screamed, "If you're so beautiful, then no one else will ever think so." With a single stroke of his blade, he sliced her mouth open from ear to ear, leaving her disfigured beyond recognition. Blood poured from the wound as she collapsed in shock and pain. The samurai fled into the night, leaving his once beautiful wife to die alone. But she did not die. Instead, her soul became a vengeful spirit, cursed to wander the earth, seeking revenge for the beauty that was stolen from her. In modern times, Kuchisake-onna has been seen in towns and cities all over Japan, especially on empty streets and desolate highways at night. She wears a long trench coat and a surgical mask, blending in with everyday pedestrians, particularly during cold seasons or pandemics. From a distance, she appears ordinary, just another person protecting themselves from illness or the cold. But those who have encountered her up close tell a different story. She often appears suddenly, blocking your path in a quiet, dimly lit street or a deserted road. With an unsettling calmness, she asks a simple yet eerie question: "Am I beautiful?" At first, you might not think much of it. After all, her face is mostly hidden behind the mask. Unsure of how to respond, most people would answer politely, "Yes, you are beautiful." Then, without warning, she removes her mask, revealing a grotesque sight. Her mouth is slit open from ear to ear, forming a grotesque, bloody smile. The flesh around her lips is raw, her teeth visible beneath the torn skin. At this point, she asks a second, far more chilling question: "How about now?" Your response will decide your fate. If you answer no, she will produce a pair of sharp scissors from her coat and stab you to death on the spot, without hesitation. If you answer yes, thinking it might spare you, she will grin wickedly and use the same scissors to slice your mouth open in the same horrific way, leaving you disfigured just like her. Either way, few escape her clutches once they encounter her. Despite the terror surrounding Kuchisake-onna, there are rumored methods for escaping her. Some say that if you respond to her question with a vague or ambiguous answer, like "you're average" or "you're okay," it will confuse her, buying you enough time to escape. She might pause, unsure how to react, giving you the precious few seconds you need to run. Another commonly cited escape method involves distracting her. It's said that if you throw small objects like candy, she may stop to pick them up, again allowing you a window to flee. This peculiar detail may be tied to her obsession with appearance and vanity, causing her to momentarily lose focus. A third theory involves wearing a protective item, such as a specific type of amulet or charm. Some claim that certain religious or spiritual symbols might ward her off, though there is no definitive proof of their effectiveness. Many of these stories seem more like desperate attempts to survive an encounter with something no one fully understands. The legend of Kuchisake-onna took on a life of its own in modern Japan, particularly during the late 1970s and early 1980s. Reports of a slit-mouthed woman began to surface in different regions, with many claiming to have seen her in dark alleys or near schools. This caused widespread panic, especially among children and teenagers. Schools started issuing warnings, and parents forbade their children from walking home alone after dark. One famous case involves a high school girl who reportedly encountered Kuchisake-onna on her way home from evening classes. The girl, walking along a deserted street, heard footsteps behind her. As the footsteps grew louder, she glanced back and saw a woman wearing a long coat and a surgical mask following her. Unnerved, the girl quickened her pace, but the woman followed. Getting closer with each step, the woman soon caught up and blocked the girl's path. "Am I beautiful?" the woman asked. The girl, scared but unsure of what was happening, quickly said yes without a word. The woman removed her mask, revealing her horrific smile. The girl was paralyzed with fear as the woman asked again, "How about now?" Terrified, the girl tried to run, but it was too late. Her body was found the next morning, her mouth gruesomely slit from ear to ear, just like the woman's. Stories like these fueled widespread fear. Some claimed the slit-mouthed woman was an escaped mental patient. Others believed she was a vengeful spirit from the past, cursed to forever walk the earth in search of her next victim. Over time, Kuchisake-onna has become a part of Japan's modern folklore and pop culture. She has appeared in countless movies, television dramas, anime, and even horror video games. Despite the variations in how her story is told, her appearance and menacing question, "Am I beautiful?" remain consistent, always sending chills down the spine of anyone familiar with the legend. Movies like Carve, The Slit-Mouthed Woman 2007, and episodes of various horror anthologies keep the story alive, perpetuating the fear of encountering her on a lonely road at night. She's become a symbol of urban horror, a reminder that even in the most mundane settings, something terrifying could be lurking just around the corner. In Japan, where masks are commonly worn during flu season and pandemics, the image of a masked woman asking a seemingly harmless question can strike an eerie chord with people. The legend resonates with deep-rooted fears of the unknown, of deformity, and of vanity's dark side. Kuchisake-onna's legend taps into primal fears, the terror of being hunted by a relentless, supernatural entity, and the unease of being asked a question where no answer leads to safety. Her image, with her grotesque smile, lingers in the collective consciousness of Japan. Even today, some people, especially children, feel a shiver run down their spine when they hear the tale of the slit-mouthed woman. Parents warn their kids not to speak to strangers, especially those wearing masks. And in the quiet streets of Japan, when the night falls and the wind rustles through the empty alleys, you might still wonder if you were to encounter her. How would you respond? Story 2. Hachishakusama. In the rural regions of Japan, a chilling legend haunts the villagers' Hachishakusama, or the 8-feet-tall woman. This mysterious and terrifying spirit has been the subject of fear and whispered stories for generations. As dusk falls and shadows lengthen, elders in these villages warn the younger ones not to wander outside after dark, for Hachishakusama might be lurking, watching, waiting for her next victim. The name Hachishakusama comes from her towering height, standing at 8 shaku, approximately 2.4 meters, or about 8 feet tall. Her size alone is enough to set her apart from ordinary humans, but her appearance is far from the only thing that terrifies those who encounter her. The origins of Hachishakusama are shrouded in mystery, with several versions of her backstory. Some believe she was once a shrine maiden in ancient Japan who was cursed by the gods after violating sacred taboos. Her punishment was to roam the earth, seeking a replacement to take on her curse. Others say she was an ordinary woman who met a violent death and whose spirit was twisted into a monstrous form, growing unnaturally tall as her thirst for revenge deepened. Regardless of the version, All stories describe her as wearing a long white dress, with disheveled hair, and emitting a strange, deep laugh that sounds like po dot 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 po dot 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 po dot 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 double quotes. Her appearance is not just a fleeting vision. Once she marks someone as her target, there is almost no escape. Young men, particularly boys or teenagers, are said to be her favorite prey. Once she locks her eyes on them, she will pursue them relentlessly, until they disappear from the world entirely. Encounters with Hachishakusama often come with eerie signs and a sense of impending doom. She is a towering figure, making her difficult to miss, but there's more to her than just her imposing size. People who see her often describe an overwhelming sense of dread and a feeling of being watched, even from a distance. One of the most famous stories involves a boy named Kenji. During one hot summer, Kenji was sent by his parents to stay with his grandparents in the countryside to escape the heat of the city. The village was peaceful, surrounded by rice fields and low hills. Kenji loved playing with the local kids, but from the second day of his visit, he began to feel something strange in the air. One afternoon, as Kenji and his friends were playing in a field, he looked up and saw a figure standing near the trees in the distance. It was a woman impossibly tall, wearing a long white dress. Her presence was unnerving, but Kenji assumed it was just a passing villager. That evening, however, Kenji overheard his grandparents speaking in hushed tones about Hachishakusama. His grandmother sounded scared, telling his grandfather that there were rumors of her reappearance. That night, as Kenji lay in bed, he found it difficult to sleep. His mind kept returning to his grandmother's words. Then, in the stillness of the night, he heard a strange sound coming from outside his window. Po dot 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 po dot 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 po dot dot dot. It was a deep, rhythmic noise, almost like someone laughing softly. Trembling, Kenji got out of bed and slowly approached the window. Pulling back the curtain just a little, he peered outside into the moonlit yard. There, standing by the garden wall, was the same figure he had seen earlier. The woman was standing unnaturally tall, her head even higher than the wall itself. She was staring straight at him. Terrified, Kenji quickly shut the curtain and ran back to bed, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew then what he had seen. It was Hachishakusama, and she had marked him. The next morning, Kenji told his grandparents about what he had seen. Their faces went pale with fear, and his grandmother began to cry. They knew that once Hachishakusama targeted someone, they had only 3 days before they would be taken away. No one had ever escaped her once she had set her sights on them. Kenji's grandfather immediately contacted the local priest, hoping that there was some way to stop the curse. When the priest arrived, he brought a special charm with him, telling Kenji to keep it on him at all times. The priest also placed protective talismans in every corner of the house and told Kenji that for the next 3 days, he must not leave the house or interact with anyone outside. Despite the precautions, Kenji felt an overwhelming sense of dread as night fell again. Each night, the soft, ominous po dot 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 po dot 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 po dot 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 double quotes laugh echoed through the house, growing louder and closer. The presence of Hachishakusama was palpable, and Kenji could feel her gaze even though he stayed inside. On the third night, the situation grew dire. Kenji felt a deep chill in the air, as if the temperature in the room had suddenly dropped. He hid under his blanket, gripping the charm tightly, but he could hear the sound of heavy footsteps approaching his door. Each step was slow and deliberate, getting closer and closer. Then came the sound again, po dot 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 po dot 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 po dot dot dot, followed by a knock at the door. A soft woman's voice called from the other side, "Are you all right? Can I come in?" Kenji's heart raced in terror. He knew that voice wasn't human. It was Hachishakusama, trying to trick him into opening the door. He recalled the priest's warning, never respond to her, do not let her in. He kept silent, not daring to make a sound. Minutes passed. Though they felt like hours, as the footsteps and voice slowly faded into the distance. The temperature in the room gradually returned to normal, and Kenji realized he had narrowly escaped. The next morning, the priest returned with good news. The rituals had worked. Hachishakusama had been driven away, at least temporarily. But the priest warned Kenji and his family that the curse might not be gone for good. Once marked by Hachishakusama, she could return in years to come, waiting for the right moment to claim her victim. Though her origins lie in rural Japan, the legend of Hachishakusama has permeated modern culture, becoming a classic figure in Japanese horror. She appears in various horror movies, TV dramas, and manga, often depicted as an unstoppable, malevolent force, particularly targeting young men. Her story continues to inspire fear in modern society, especially in remote areas where belief in the supernatural remains strong. In some rural villages, people still hold annual rituals to protect themselves from her influence, leaving offerings at shrines and praying for safety. Even in cities, the sight of a tall, white-clad figure can send shivers down the spine of those familiar with the legend. The deep, rhythmic double quotes laugh lingers in the minds of those who hear it, a haunting reminder that Hachishakusama may still be out there waiting. Story 3. Jinmenken. In the realm of Japanese urban legends, Jinmenken, or the human-faced dog, is a particularly unsettling presence. It is neither a mere animal nor a traditional ghost, but a creature that blurs the line between the two. Jinmenken is said to have the body of a dog but the face of a human, creating a terrifying and deeply disturbing image. What's more, it can speak, often leaving those who encounter it frozen in fear. The legend of the Jinmenken has uncertain origins, but over time, it has become a fixture of modern Japanese folklore. Sightings of this strange creature are most commonly reported on highways at night, often in the context of car accidents or other disasters. Those who see it often report a sense of impending doom, as though misfortune is just around the corner. There are many theories surrounding the origin of Jinmenken. Some stories suggest that it is the spirit of a cursed soul, condemned to wander the earth in this grotesque form, as punishment for some grave sin committed during their lifetime. Others believe it is the result of a forbidden scientific experiment or genetic mutation, an abomination born from mankind's desire to tamper with nature. One of the more common stories claims that long ago, a group of scientists conducted cruel experiments on animals, attempting to transfer human consciousness into animal bodies. The result was this horrific creature, Jinmenken. These unethical experiments left the creature stranded between the world of humans and animals, never able to regain its normal form. Jinmenken is now said to wander the highways, searching for peace it will never find. Another popular explanation is that Jinmenken are the spirits of those who died in traffic accidents. Unable to come to terms with their death, they take on the form of a dog but retain their human face, forever haunting the site of their demise. These beings, with human faces twisted in anguish, often roam the night looking for someone to speak to, their voice filled with sorrow and regret. Regardless of the version, all accounts agree that encountering Jinmenken is an experience filled with dread, as it carries a powerful sense of foreboding. Most sightings of Jinmenken occur late at night on highways or in urban alleyways. Drivers often report seeing a shadowy figure darting across the road at high speed, resembling a dog. However, upon closer inspection, they realize this is no ordinary animal. The creature has a human face, its expression empty, and its eyes filled with sorrow. Many drivers feel an overwhelming sense of discomfort after seeing Jinmenken, and in some cases, this unease leads to accidents. Some brave souls have tried to approach it, only to be stopped in their tracks when the creature speaks. Jinmenken is said to possess the ability to talk, though it rarely does so unless provoked. When it does speak, it usually utters a chilling phrase, "Leave me alone, get away from here." The deep, raspy voice from a human-faced dog is enough to send most people running in terror. One particularly famous sighting occurred in the outskirts of Tokyo. A young man named Kobayashi was driving home late at night along an unlit stretch of highway. In the shadows by the side of the road, he saw a dark shape moving. At first, he assumed it was a stray dog and prepared to drive past it. But as his headlights illuminated the creature, he saw something that made his blood run cold. It was a dog, but its face was unmistakably human, with eyes staring directly at his car. Kobayashi slammed on the brakes, his heart racing with fear. But before he could process what he was seeing, the creature opened its mouth and spoke. "Go, don't stop here." The words were low and ominous, sending a shiver down his spine. He quickly sped away, too terrified to look back. Later, Kobayashi learned that there had been a fatal car accident just days before on that very stretch of road. The victims, it was said, had been reported as wandering spirits, with some locals believing that they had manifested as Jinmenken to warn others of the danger. These strange encounters are not isolated. Many witnesses report misfortune soon after seeing Jinmenken. Some lose their jobs, others fall gravely ill, and some even meet with accidents shortly afterward. While there's no scientific proof connecting these events, the belief persists that Jinmenken sightings are harbingers of bad luck. The terror of Jinmenken goes beyond its grotesque appearance or its ability to speak. It is the sense of doom it brings with it, a premonition of disaster. Jinmenken is not known for attacking humans like other malevolent spirits, but its presence alone can trigger deep psychological fear. Those who encounter it often feel an oppressive weight, as though fate itself is bearing down on them. Jinmenken is often seen as a warning, rather than being a direct threat. It may be trying to steer people away from danger. Some believe it is not a malevolent entity at all, but a lost soul trying to protect others from suffering the same fate. However, this interpretation does little to reduce the fear associated with seeing a human face on a dog's body, especially when that face is filled with sorrow and despair. In some cases, Jinmenken is said to vanish into thin air, leaving witnesses questioning whether they saw anything at all. This mysterious disappearance adds to its enigma, as it appears to exist on the border between our world and another, briefly crossing over to deliver its grim message. What should you do if you encounter Jinmenken? Most who have come across the creature say that the best course of action is to ignore it entirely. Engaging with it, especially speaking to it, is believed to invite greater misfortune. Those who heed its warning and quickly leave the area may be able to escape its curse. Some people recommend wearing protective charms or visiting a shrine after seeing Jinmenken to cleanse themselves of the bad luck it is said to bring. While there is no definitive proof that such measures work, many who have encountered Jinmenken swear by these remedies as a way to stave off disaster. Remaining calm is also considered essential. Jinmenken's appearance may test the limits of your mental fortitude, but losing control to fear may only make things worse. It is said that Jinmenken might be an entity that feeds on negative energy, and panic can exacerbate its influence. Those who manage to stay composed during an encounter often fare better in the days that follow. Over the years, Jinmenken has become a staple of modern Japanese horror culture. It has appeared in films, TV shows, manga, and even video games, where its unsettling combination of animal and human features continues to haunt the imagination. Whether portrayed as a cursed spirit or an experimental creature gone wrong, the essence of Jinmenken remains the same, a creature that blurs the line between humanity and the animal world, embodying sorrow and dread. In many horror works, Jinmenken represents the darker aspects of human nature and the hidden fears that lurk within the psyche. Its appearance often coincides with themes of fate, loss, and the inevitability of death. Whether encountered on a lonely highway or in a bustling city, Jinmenken always leaves an impression of something otherworldly, a reminder that not all things can be understood or controlled. Even in today's modern, fast-paced world, the legend of Jinmenken continues to resonate. In a society where technology dominates, the fear of the unknown persists. Jinmenken's presence serves as a reminder that, despite humanity's advancements, there are still mysteries lurking in the shadows, waiting to be discovered or avoided. Story 4. Sadako. In the world of Japanese modern horror, Sadako is a name known to almost everyone. Her iconic image, long black hair, white dress, and the terrifying way she crawls out of a well has become a symbol of terror in Japan and around the world. Sadako's story originates from Koji Suzuki's novel Rin, which was later adapted into a film, catapulting her legend into the global spotlight. She is more than just a character. Sadako represents unresolved hatred, an unstoppable curse, and the intersection of technology and the supernatural. The legend of Sadako comes from Suzuki's novel, but her character is deeply rooted in traditional Japanese folklore about vengeful spirits or onryu. According to the story, Sadako was once an ordinary girl, but she possessed extraordinary psychic abilities, allowing her to control objects with her mind. Her father was a mysterious man with supernatural powers, and her mother also had similar abilities. From a young age, Sadako exhibited unusual talents that caused fear and rejection among those around her. Though her parents also had supernatural abilities, they never fully understood or controlled Sadako's growing powers. Over time, Sadako's abilities became stronger, drawing the attention of scientists and the media. One day, a journalist publicly humiliated Sadako's mother, accusing her of being a fraud. This public shame caused her mother to take her own life, and Sadako, driven by rage, used her powers to curse the journalist, resulting in his sudden death. This event deepened the fear people had of Sadako, and ultimately, she was killed out of that fear. According to the legend, after Sadako's death, her spirit was filled with vengeful hatred and was sealed inside a deep well. At the moment of her death, her curse began to spread through a piece of modern technology, a videotape. Anyone who watched the tape would die within 7 days unless they made a copy of the tape and showed it to someone else, thus passing on the curse. The most terrifying aspect of Sadako's curse is its inevitability. Anyone who watches the cursed videotape receives a phone call afterward, with only a cold voice on the other end whispering 7 days. This signifies that the viewer has only 1 week left to live. The curse unfolds gradually. In the first few days, the victims don't notice anything unusual. However, as the days pass, strange phenomena begin to occur: phantom sounds, terrifying hallucinations, heart palpitations, and overwhelming feelings of dread. Some victims even see fleeting images of Sadako's shadow or hear her faint whisper. By the 7th day, Sadako herself appears crawling out of a well, then through the TV screen, before dragging the victim into the afterlife. The most horrifying aspect is that there is no escape. No matter where the victim hides, Sadako will find them and carry out her curse. Her powers transcend physical space, even breaking the boundary between the real and the virtual world. Sadako's curse has a unique feature. It spreads by replication. The only way for someone who has watched the cursed videotape to survive is to make a copy of the tape and pass it on to someone else. In this way, the curse is perpetuated, reflecting the terrifying chain reaction that causes fear to spread from one person to another. This mechanism not only adds a layer of horror to the story but also explores the moral dilemmas of self-preservation at the expense of others. Although Sadako's story primarily exists through the medium of a videotape, as the Ring films grew in popularity, more and more reports of supernatural sightings associated with Sadako emerged. People often claim that in the middle of the night, their televisions turn on by themselves, showing nothing but static. These occurrences are usually accompanied by a cold presence in the room, as if something is working nearby. One particularly famous story involves a university student in Tokyo. She and her friends had unknowingly purchased an old videotape from a thrift store. When they played it back in their dorm, they were disturbed by the eerie images that flashed on the screen, a vague figure, and strange whispers echoing in the background. Though unsettled, the students didn't think much of it at first. But later that night, they each received an unsettling phone call. The voice on the other end of the line whispered only 2 words, 7 days. They initially dismissed it as a prank. However, over the following week, strange things began happening. Electrical devices malfunctioned without explanation, and in the dead of night, they could hear faint whispers coming from the walls. On the 7th day, the student, who had watched the tape alone, was sitting in her dorm when the television suddenly flickered on by itself. The screen showed the familiar static, and then the horrifying sight of a woman in a white dress with long, dripping hair emerging from a well. Slowly, the figure crawled out of the television, crossing the boundary from the video world into the real world. The next morning, the girl's body was found in her dorm room, her face twisted in horror, eyes wide open, as if she had seen something unspeakably terrifying just before she died. This incident, along with others like it, has led many to believe that Sadako's curse isn't just a work of fiction. Some argue that the spirit of Sadako has found a way to manifest in reality through technology. Although these stories are often unverified, they continue to strike fear into those who hear them. What makes Sadako such an enduring figure of horror is not just her appearance or the terrifying way she kills her victims, but the deeper layers of fear she represents. Sadako isn't just a vengeful ghost, she's also a symbol of humanity's unease about the blending of modern technology and the supernatural. In Sadako's story, technology becomes the vehicle for a curse, reflecting society's fear of technological advancement and what might happen when it spirals out of control. The videotape, as a medium of terror in Sadako's tale, has a significant symbolic meaning. As technology evolves, Sadako's curse evolves with it. Whether through video, television, or even the internet, the curse continues to find new ways to spread, reminding us of the omnipresence of technology in our lives and the potential dangers it holds. Moreover, Sadako embodies the traditional Japanese concept of onryu, or vengeful spirits. Such spirits are often wronged in life and are unable to find peace, thus returning to the world of the living to seek revenge. Sadako's hatred stems from her tragic past, but her curse goes beyond personal revenge, becoming a widespread retribution against society at large. The only known way to escape Sadako's curse is to make a copy of the cursed videotape and show it to someone else. While this may seem like a simple solution, it presents a significant moral dilemma. In order to save yourself, you must condemn another innocent person to the same fate. This mechanism of passing on the curse not only heightens the story's horror but also reflects the desperation and selfishness that emerge when faced with impending death. There are rumors of other ways to escape the curse. Some believe that performing religious rituals or seeking the help of spiritual mediums may offer protection. However, these methods remain largely unverified and are considered highly risky. Since the release of the Ring novels and films, Sadako has become one of the most iconic characters in Japanese horror. She has appeared in countless movies, television shows, manga, and even video games, becoming a global symbol of fear. Her image, long hair covering her face, crawling out of a well, has been parodied and referenced in horror media worldwide. Internationally, the character was adapted for Western audiences in the remake The Ring, which also achieved great success. Though different cultures have their own interpretations of horror, Sadako's ghostly figure and her curse resonate with people across the globe. In Japan, Sadako represents more than just a film character. She symbolizes a deeper fear of unresolved pasts, vengeful spirits, and the dangers of modern technology. In a society increasingly reliant on technology, Sadako's curse serves as a chilling reminder that even as we advance, we are still vulnerable to forces beyond our understanding. Story 5. Toire no Hanako-san. In schools across Japan, an eerie and unsettling legend persists. This is the tale of Hanako-san of the Toire no Hanako-san, a ghostly figure whose name is spoken in whispers among students. Hanako's story is one of the most famous school ghost legends, passed down from one generation of students to the next. It is said that she haunts the girls' bathroom, specifically the third stall on the third floor, waiting for anyone brave or foolish enough to call her name. While this story is often shared as a spooky school tale, its roots and related incidents carry an air of genuine terror. There are many versions of how Hanako became the ghost who haunts school bathrooms, with different schools and regions giving rise to their own interpretations of the legend. However, the most widely accepted version traces her origin back to the time of World War II. In this version of the story, Hanako was a shy and quiet schoolgirl who lived during the war. One day, as air raid sirens blared, the school was evacuated and students were rushed to shelters. However, for unknown reasons, Hanako stayed behind, hiding in the school bathroom. When the bombs fell, the building was destroyed, and Hanako was killed, trapped in the bathroom where her spirit remains, unable to find peace. Another popular version of the tale involves Hanako being the victim of severe bullying at school. Unable to bear the torment, she took her own life in the bathroom. Her spirit, filled with anger and sadness, now lingers in the school, seeking revenge or perhaps simply someone to acknowledge her pain. Regardless of which version of the story is told, one element remains the same. Hanako's spirit is trapped in the bathroom, making her one of Japan's most enduring urban legends. The process of summoning Hanako is shrouded in mystery and fear, which is likely why the legend has become so widespread among students. The ritual to call Hanako is simple yet terrifying, adding to the allure of the story. First, one must enter the girls' bathroom, usually on the third floor, and approach the third stall. Then, the summoner must knock 3 times on the door and softly call out, "Hanako, are you there?" If Hanako is willing to appear, a faint voice may respond, or there might be a slight rustling sound from inside the stall. When Hanako appears, there are 2 possibilities. She may present herself as a harmless young girl, quietly standing inside the stall, or she may manifest as a vengeful spirit, her face twisted in terror. In some versions of the story, she may even invite the summoner to join her inside the stall, and once you enter, it is said you will never leave. Many students, out of a mix of curiosity and fear, have attempted to summon Hanako. Some claim they heard strange noises from the stall but saw nothing. Others report that after attempting the ritual, they or their friends became haunted by unexplained phenomena, as though they had invoked something far more dangerous than they anticipated. While the legend of Hanako-san is primarily an urban school myth, there have been numerous reports of eerie experiences and encounters related to her over the years. Students and even teachers have shared stories of strange happenings in the bathrooms, making Hanako's presence feel all too real. One of the most famous incidents occurred at a middle school in Tokyo. A group of students decided to test the Hanako legend after school one day. They followed the steps exactly, knocking on the third stall and calling out her name. After the third knock, the bathroom lights began to flicker, and a soft sound of footsteps echoed from inside the stall. Seconds later, the door creaked open, but no one was inside. Although they didn't see Hanako, the chilling atmosphere left them shaken, and none of them dared try it again. Another unsettling report comes from a primary school in Osaka. A young girl, curious about the legend, snuck into the bathroom during class to summon Hanako by herself. According to her, after she knocked and called out, she suddenly felt a cold breeze behind her. When she turned to look in the mirror, her reflection was blurred, as though something was standing behind her, watching her. Terrified, she ran out of the bathroom and never ventured there alone again. Some of the more extreme stories suggest that students who encounter Hanako experience lingering physical or psychological effects. For example, some have reported recurring nightmares after their encounter, where they see a little girl watching them from a distance, sometimes smiling innocently, other times filled with malice. These experiences, though often unsubstantiated, have left a lasting impression on those who have heard them, ensuring that Hanako's tale continues to spread fear throughout schools. The terror of Hanako-san comes not just from the idea of a ghost in a school bathroom, but from what she represents. For many students, school is a place of pressure, anxiety, and isolation. Hanako, as a restless spirit wandering the halls, symbolizes the hidden fears children often face in school, whether it's the fear of failure, the stress of exams, or deeper feelings of loneliness and alienation. Moreover, Hanako's fear factor lies in her unpredictability. She might appear as a harmless child, or she might reveal herself as a malevolent spirit seeking vengeance. Those who summon her never know which version of Hanako they will encounter, and this uncertainty amplifies the sense of dread. The fear of the unknown, of not knowing what consequences your actions will bring, is a fundamental part of what makes the Hanako legend so powerful. Another element of fear in the Hanako legend comes from the mundane setting in which it unfolds: the bathroom. Bathrooms are a common, everyday part of life, but they are also private, enclosed spaces where one is isolated from the outside world. The idea that a ghost could be lurking in such an ordinary place as a school bathroom adds to the horror, making it harder for people to avoid the connection between fear and their daily routine. Naturally, with such a frightening legend, many people wonder if there are ways to avoid or break Hanako's curse. Some believe that carrying certain charms or talismans from a shrine can protect you from Hanako's reach, especially those that are specifically blessed to ward off evil spirits. Others suggest that apologizing to Hanako or making an offering in her honor could appease her restless spirit and prevent her from harming you. In some versions of the legend, if you feel Hanako's presence after summoning her, the best course of action is to run as fast as you can out of the bathroom without looking back. By escaping the confines of the bathroom, it is thought that you might be able to avoid Hanako's grasp. However, this method is not always foolproof, as there are stories of Hanako following students into their dreams or even their homes after an encounter. Hanako's story is not confined to the school grounds. Over time, she has become a prominent figure in modern Japanese culture, appearing in horror films, manga, and novels. As a classic character in Japanese school ghost stories, Hanako is frequently referenced in films about haunted schools, where her presence is often expanded upon to make her a more dangerous entity. For instance, in some Japanese horror films, Hanako is depicted as a malevolent spirit who doesn't just haunt bathrooms, but also lurks in other hidden areas of the school: locker rooms, classrooms, and even mirrors. Her ability to appear anywhere within the school heightens the sense of inescapable fear that makes her such a powerful legend. Hanako's influence has spread beyond Japan as well. As Japanese horror gained international popularity, Hanako's story was adapted into various media across different cultures, where she became a symbol of school-based hauntings. Though the cultural context may differ, the core of Hanako's legend, fear born from curiosity and isolation, resonates with people worldwide. In conclusion, the legend of Hanako-san of the toilet is more than just a school ghost story. It represents the anxieties of childhood, the unknown dangers lurking in familiar places, and the fear of what happens when curiosity leads to something far darker than expected. As the years go by, Hanako's story may continue to evolve, but her unsettling presence will always remain a part of the history of school-based horror tales.